Hi, I'm Ann Burns, Assistant Professor at Eastern Kentucky University, and I will be your instructor for this course. I'm excited to have each of you as part of Assessment in Education. Before we get started, I want to share a little of my background with you. I'm a graduate of Eastern Kentucky University, and I've spent the majority of my teaching career in the K-12 setting. I have teaching experience in primary, intermediate, and middle school levels, as well as administrative experience in all levels of schooling, including adult education. I've worked as a school administrator at the local, regional, and state levels. I feel I've learned something about the education process at every level and hope to share this knowledge with you as we learn about assessment literacy in the school setting. Today, we're going to briefly overview how we will define assessment for this course. Assessment quality has two components: accuracy and effective use. You have to do it right and use it well. This is the basis of our class this semester. You will learn how to accurately assess and learn the most effective way to use assessment results for student achievement. Rick Stiggins developed a framework of 5 keys to assessment quality that encompasses the research recommendations and forms the basis for our program. The 5 keys are clear purpose, clear targets, sound design, effective communication, and student involvement. Each of the keys to quality is explained in depth in our class text, Classroom Assessment for Student Learning, Doing It Right, Using It Well. We refer to that as the Castle book. We will examine each of these keys throughout the semester. So let's jump right in and talk a little about each key and how it supports student achievement. Key 1 is clear purpose. Sound classroom assessment requires that both processes and results serve clear and appropriate purposes. Central questions for this key are: who will use the assessment results and how will they be used? To establish a clear assessment purpose, we can ask, what decisions will this assessment inform? Who is making these decisions? What information will be most useful in making those decisions? And the answers to these questions determine what information is needed and in what form. The key first step in assessment planning, whether you're developing your own assessment or selecting one already developed. We can divide the purposes of assessment into 2 categories: assessment of learning and assessment for learning. Summative assessment, or assessment of learning, measures the level of achievement at a point in time. Standardized tests and benchmark assessments generally fall into this category. Any work that is evaluated that counts toward your report card or an end of the 9 weeks grade, we can consider that an assessment of learning. So if you think about all of the assessments given over a semester and how many of them are figured into the grade, you'll discover that a lot of them, if not most of them, are assessments of learning. Formative assessment, or assessment for learning, on the other hand, it's not an accountability tool. It's a teaching tool. We can conduct assessments to make decisions about instruction before the learning process or during the learning process. For example, we conduct pre-tests to help us decide where to begin with certain groups of students, and we give students quizzes to help them decide what their strengths are and what they need to focus on. You can see the categories of decision makers represented here. Remember, formative refers to the manner in which an assessment is used, rather than any particular assessment instrument in and of itself. Formative assessments serve to inform decisions that increase learning, not merely verify that it has or hasn't taken place. The second key to quality is clear targets. Good assessments reflect clear and valued student learning targets. Key 2 asks us to be clear about the targets we intend to teach and assess before we plan our assessments. We need to know what kind of target the content standard represents, so we teach to the intended level of the cognitive challenge, and so we can select the appropriate assessment method. We need to be competent and confident masters of the targets ourselves. We need to know what targets each assessment measures so we can ensure that our tests match our teaching and so that we can keep track of learning standard by standard. We need to make our targets clear to students in advance of or during the learning. It's never the case that first students can't meet standards and then all of a sudden they can. Rather, what happens is that students ascend through progressive levels of mastery of foundations. They climb a scaffolding up to a place where they're ready to demonstrate mastery. Deconstructing state standards into learning progressions forms the scaffold for guiding teaching and focusing assessment for learning. So good assessments begin with keys 1 and 2, clear purpose and clear targets. Once those keys are in place, we're ready to move to key 3, sound assessment design. In this key, learning targets are translated into assessments that yield accurate results. High-quality assessments are not built first and then retrofitted into a context. After we have established the purpose and identified the learning targets to be assessed, then we are ready to design our assessment. Once we have ensured the accuracy of our assessments, we are ready to address their effective use. The fourth key to quality is effective communication. Assessment results are managed well and communicated effectively. The most accurate assessment is wasted if its results are miscommunicated or if they are communicated to students in ways that shut learning down. In Key 4, we focus on what needs to be in place so that everyone who receives assessment information can use it effectively. This includes providing timely, descriptive feedback involving students in tracking and communicating about their learning, grading accurately, and interpreting the standardized test scores correctly. The fifth key to quality is student involvement, and it is actually a part of all of the other keys. These are central components of student involvement in assessment. We need to accept that students are users of our assessment information, they understand high standards, they respond to feedback, and can self-assess and set goals. We will explore what it is about student involvement that does work and why research supports assessment for learning in the classroom. Some common points moving forward in the class. Remember, all assessments should be designed to improve student learning. In EDF 413, you will be challenged to think critically, make educational decisions based on current data, and apply your learning to your own context. These are all critical components for success in this course because they are critical components for your success as a teacher. You will need to use your knowledge and skills to assess resources, collaborate with your colleagues, and learn to maximize your strengths and minimize your weaknesses to be successful as a professional. Hopefully, we can make great strides in your assessment literacy skills this semester. Thank you, and I look forward to working with you this semester.